more nerve-wracking flick than Steven Spielberg's Duel, which pits an everyman in his puny sedan against a deranged trucker. Imagine those movies with self-driving vehicles. Which brings me to look both ways. We are told that the autonomous or self-driving car is imminent, and when everyone has access to one, accidents will plummet. The cars will be safer because they will strictly follow the rules of the road and be better at anticipating and avoiding accidents. What could go wrong? Well, as many news reports have suggested, plenty. Putting one's faith in the car's abilities can lull a driver into false security. In models where a real-life person is expected to take the wheel in a sudden, potentially dangerous event, they can't respond in time. Some early prototypes have had difficulty identifying pedestrians. Others have been confused by shadows or a setting sun. To be fair, it's early days. There may come a time when every car on the road is self-driving. And if they're all able to communicate with one another, crashes will be a thing of the past. And while that is inarguably a good thing, I view this future with dread. You know what a self-driving car is? It's a bus, but smaller. It's an Uber without the driver who wants to tell you about the screenplay he's working on. It's boring. It's soulless. It is the death of fun. However, it's also a springboard to a great what if. Every book begins with a what if, and here's the one that prompted this book. What if a company wanted to conduct a grand experiment with their self-driving cars? What if they could persuade the residents of an isolated community to give up their conventional cars in exchange for self-driving ones for a month? Wouldn't that be the ultimate test of how well they perform? But then, what if a virus infected the network? What if the cars all went nuts? Homicidal, in fact. What you'd have is a few hundred Christines on your hands. The premise is very different from the type of thrillers you've probably come to expect from me, but it was too good an idea to put aside. Maybe autonomous cars, one day, will be a wonderful thing. But until they're perfected, when you're crossing the street, I'd advise you to look both ways.
Prologue. Wendy was clipping along the Pacific Coast Highway, arguing with her mother over the Bluetooth about when she would have time to come to Detroit and see her father before he died, which was laying it on pretty thick, considering what he had was bursitis, when she noticed that the car in front of her had no driver. "What the hell?" she said. "What?" said her mother, her voice echoing inside the car. "What is it?" She'd been following this car for nearly 5 miles now, heading back to her home in Santa Cruz after a business meeting in Pismo Beach. She didn't normally take the Pacific Coast Highway, as she was doing tonight. She'd seen the view 100 times. Ho-hum. There's the ocean, big whoop. And the freeway was faster. And even if she wanted to take the extra time with the scenic route, there wasn't any way to appreciate it when it was coming up on midnight. But there had been a truck rollover in the northbound lanes of the freeway. Wendy got an advance warning on her Google Traffic app, and so she had exited before the flow of cars turned into a standstill and headed for the coastal road. She had texted her mother before she left Pismo Beach, figuring she had gone to sleep and wouldn't see it until the morning. But she must have woken up in the middle of the night, seen the text, and decided to call. Wendy had been listening to CNN on the satellite radio. She usually ground her teeth while listening to pundits debate. No more like shout at each other about the latest shenanigans in D.C., but instead of listening to news, Wendy had been rehashing in her mind her day of meetings, all to sort out permissions for a new subdivision. The locals were unconvinced that there was adequate water supply for the 90 proposed homes, and Wendy had gone armed with various engineering reports. And by the time she'd left,